Let me say a pleasant good evening to former THA Secretary Ancil Dennis. Mr. Dennis, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. All the best to you and your family for the season, and I hope you have a wonderful 2024 as best as possible. Thank you so much for linking with us here this evening on The Observer. I know a lot is going on in Tobago. Let me start off, let me get to the meat of it here. What do you say when many people who are looking in under the perception that Tobago is being stifled as far as development and as far as access of funds?
Stifled by whom?
Well, that's the main question because Mr. Augustine lamented that the Tobago House of Assembly had just $6 million to spend for fiscal 2024 and some of the island's most critical infrastructural needs. He said
But
that
this same Mr. Augustine who is complaining, and let me just explain that the Tobago House of Assembly by law is allocated 4.03% minimum of the national budget. Every central government normally allocates somewhere around 4.3% thereabout of the national budget, right? So that is the norm. As a matter of fact, in the last fiscal year, the last budget allocation that the THA received was actually $200 million more than I received when I was Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly in the 2020-2021 fiscal year, right? So this administration has actually received more money, right? $200 million plus more than the previous PNM administration. So to suggest now that Tobago is being stifled is a very disingenuous statement. Now, of course, as a Tobagonian, I will always argue that Tobago should receive a greater share of the national budget. That is actually Tobago's quest as part of our autonomy fight, right? But the same Fali Augustine who is complaining now refused to support the last bill that came to the parliament that would have given Tobago greater autonomy. And that bill actually proposed a shift from 4.03% as the minimum upwards to 6.9%. And if that law was in place now, then this current THA administration would have received an additional $1.5 billion as part of their allocation. So any indication or any notion that Tobago is being stifled by the central government, it's simply excuses on the part of this THA, because the previous PNM administration, over the years, we have been working with less money and we have been able to deliver for the people of Tobago. And this idea that you only have $6 million to spend, I reject that as well, because this is the same Fali Augustine whose administration has gone ahead and committed over $300 million of Tobago's taxpayers' money to contractors from outside of Tobago.
Yeah, no, stick a minute. I wanted to raise that with you because you made that loud and clear as you had some concerns that many of the contractors are not from Tobago.
Yes, because at the end of the day, let's face it, you have a Tobago House of Assembly that is responsible for the administration of Tobago. That small island, 116 square miles, comprising 60,000 plus persons thereabout, right? The THA is responsible for that island. And if you are being allocated $2.3 billion, 200 and something of that is allocated to the development side, 200 and something million to 300 million thereabout. Why will you, right, inherit a situation where Tobago contractors with the capacity, with the skills, with the financial capacity as well to do projects in Tobago, why will you totally shut that down to engage contractors from Trinidad, right? A situation like that will simply allow a leakage of the entire Tobago development budget of $300 million from out of the Tobago economy into an economy outside of Tobago, which is in Trinidad. The central government spends $50-something billion in Trinidad to pave roads, to do well, some of it will go into paving roads and development. Of course, the bulk of it will go into paying salaries and those kinds of things.
All right.
But the central government spends significant sums of money on development in Trinidad. So why would we want to take Tobago's money and spend it in a way that does not necessarily benefit the Tobago economy? And then complain now that you only have $6 million to spend.
And what say you on the issue that is being bandied about, that the THA, the current THA, is being undermined by PNM operatives who do not want to cooperate, who do not want to work with them, but instead the agenda is to undermine any development taking place? What say you on that?
Again, absolute rubbish. We must cast our minds back to the days following the last election, where the PNM lost 14-1. The Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago took almost the entire cabinet to the Prime Minister's residence in Tobago, and they sat down with the entire Tobago House of Assembly executive, discussing Tobago's business and the way forward. In addition to that, I've seen ministers publicly extend their arms across the waters, extend their arms of friendship, their arms of collaboration, to ensure that there was partnership, or continued partnership, I should say, between the Tobago House of Assembly and the central government in Trinidad. The THA is legally prescribed 4.03% of the budget minimum. This PNM central government gave this current THA more money, more resources than the PNM THA received under the same PNM central government. So what really is this idea about undermining? It is absolutely ridiculous. Right? It cannot be supported by any facts. So rather than just talking about Tobago is being undermined, these people must be prepared to advance specific examples. And I can tell you that there are none to support that argument.
Let me ask you, Mr. Dennis, I mean, a lot has taken place. You've had enough time since the last THA election to reflect. I mean, you're moving about now. You've gathered your strength. What's your takeaway from the results now, looking back at it? What message have you received from the people based on the results?
Well, it's democracy. The people of Tobago, after 22 years of being led by the People's National Movement, decided for several reasons that it was time for a change. I see it as part of a healthy democracy. No political party remains in power forever unless you're existing in a kind of autocratic, communist kind of arrangement. But this is democracy. And therefore the people decided that they wanted a new dispensation of leadership on the island. They wanted a change. And that was the will of the people, which I respected. But I can tell you now that the majority of Tobagonians are now regretting that decision, because the people that promised change, the people that promised to better the lives of Tobagonians, the people that promised to put Tobago first, are actually taking decisions that are inimical to Tobago's development and to the interests of the people of Tobago. So I can assure you now, that, and it's actually quite shocking to me that it has happened so quickly, that the majority of Tobagonians are expressing serious regret at their decision, because this administration continues to take decisions that are not in their best interest. This administration continues to preside over scandal after scandal. They continue to embarrass the people of Tobago at home and abroad. They continue to preside over rampant corruption in the Tobago House of Assembly. And therefore, the average right-thinking Tobagonian is asking himself now, especially those that voted for this administration, what have we done?
And let me ask you this, Mr. Dennis, straight up. What do you, Ancil Dennis, want for the people of Tobago?
I simply want for this island of Tobago to really grow towards our fullest potential. The island has significant potential, especially in the areas of tourism and agriculture. Unfortunately, we have had serious opportunities to better our tourism sector, which for frivolous reasons did not move forward. And one specific example is the Sandals project. I continue to be very regretful and even resentful to some of the individuals that were responsible for that pulling out of the Sandals project that was earmarked for Tobago. I think had that gone ahead, today our tourism prospects would have been significantly improved. So I simply want to see us achieve our fullest potential. I want to see a more vibrant and a more robust agriculture sector. I want to see the number of tourists, especially arriving from outside of Trinidad and Tobago. I want to see that number increase exponentially. But that can only happen if we work sensibly and cohesively based on a specific plan to ensure that we improve the tourism sector. And all in all, I want to see every single Tobagonian being able to benefit from a robust economy and private sector, because currently we know for a fact that the Tobago House of Assembly is really the main driver of the Tobago economy, given how the Tobago House of Assembly spends money on development, on goods and services, and that kind of stuff. So government services on the island is really the biggest part of the Tobago GDP. And I want to see that move towards more private sector activities, especially in the tourism sector, the agriculture sector, and even light manufacturing and even the culture and creativity of the island.
And based on what you said there, with all due respect, basically it is the same thing that's being echoed by the current THA leader and his team. The question I need to ask you now, and it's straight to the point, is Ancil Dennis Tobago or PNM?
Ancil Dennis is Tobago first, or Tobagonian first, and PNM after.
Understood. Because, you know, there are those who are going to weigh in and say, well, Mr. Dennis, you had the opportunity to develop all of those things that you mentioned, but is it that Ancil Dennis' plan was to see the best for Tobago, but there was some political restrictions laid out by the PNM?
Well, let's be totally honest. The PNM has been in charge of Tobago for 22 years. And yes, there are those who will dishonestly suggest that we did nothing for Tobago and nothing happened for Tobago. But anybody that is honest with themselves will accept and acknowledge that Tobago developed and advanced over those 22 years under the PNM. Tobago, whether you want to look at our community facilities, our road infrastructure, our sporting facilities, our healthcare sector, our health facilities, the number of persons who are qualified in terms of tertiary education, the number of persons who are skilled as it relates to vocational skills and otherwise, Tobago is better off than regions in Trinidad and even some of our neighboring Caribbean islands. If you were to compare Tobago utilizing all those rubrics that I just described.
Yeah.
So Tobago has developed under the PNM. I had the opportunity to continue that development for 2 years, almost 2 years, a year and 8 months to be exact, as Chief Secretary. And it is unfortunate that now that growth and that development that we were moving towards in Tobago has effectively stopped. It has ground to a halt, right? And as I said before, a simple decision, and maybe the persons in office now don't necessarily understand and appreciate the impact of the action. When you take $300 million of Tobago's money and you give it to businesses and contractors from outside of the island who are employing persons from outside of the island to do the work, who are bringing equipment from outside of the island to do the work, then that money does not circulate in the Tobago economy.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that down to the bar owners are feeling the pinch, because you go to bars and people will say to you, look, we're not seeing the kind of traffic that we are accustomed to, people not making enough on the island, people not having that additional income that they were accustomed to, right? Even some of the younger guys who, of course, had the opportunity to work with some of those contractors who are now essentially sidelined. They employed over 1,000 Tobagonians. And those thousands of Tobagonians, over 1,000 Tobagonians, somewhere between 1,000 to 2,000 to be exact,
have now been unemployed.
Exactly.
Yeah, Mr. Dennis, we have your entire team again, and we look forward to speaking to you, of course, in 2024. Do have a safe one, and again, keep up the good work.